Hey guys, I recognize I'm a little late to the party on this one, but kind of finally got around to needing to use the arbitrary waveforms on the signal generator, and you know, I'm solely working in a Mac world here, and just didn't want to switch to certainly Windows or even Linux, so um, it was an opportunity to use Swift or learn Swift and give it a try. So we've got command line arbitrary waveform loader effectively. Yeah, so I'll just show you, thought I'd show my workflow here and how the command is useful. It has some other benefits also, but it's just as far as doing the configuration and whatnot. So here's essentially the basics of the command line. But I made this program as simple as possible. It really just passes through the commands that are native to the device. It doesn't even check the length of the waveform, which has to be for the two different units. There's one that takes 2 kilobytes of samples, and there's another at 12-bit sizes, and there's another version that takes half that with only 8-bit sizes. Let me just try to navigate through the camera here. I'm going to pause. So here's what's been people have figured out and published on the internet. This is a list of the commands I've gone through and tested. There's kind of 3 categories. There's ones that return a value. Most of them return simply OK to acknowledge they've been executed. And then there's another type which uploads the waveform, which has a very particular kind of format to it, which is most of the value out of this command line tool. Otherwise it just passes these through. It's done in a classic Unix style, but with Swift for those who are interested in looking at or learning Swift. So basically, for me or for yourself, whatever you got to do, the number sequence 0 is a full negative value, 2048 being the middle value, which it would effectively be 0, and then 4095 would be the maximum value for the arbitrary waveform. And then you've also got, you have to have exactly, in my case, 2048 samples. There's no error, there's no error checking. You've got to get the right number. Just get yourself, build up your spreadsheet or whatever, code how you want to generate the numbers. And what I simply do is, once I've got the sample numbers I want, I just kind of select the row, Shift Control. I need 2 hands. I'm doing this handheld, sorry, I just haven't got room for the stand. Yeah, so just simply cut from gold, just your whatever spreadsheet program you want to use, and then write it to a file, your sample text file. Extension doesn't really matter. Oh, you know what? This is, I don't want it penned. I want to write it to it, and then good old paste. And you know the funny thing, you notice how this number here, it doesn't show. It's just how the it's just this environment for the bash shell. Like it doesn't actually write it like that. It's just an artifact, I noticed. And then Control D to end the file. Control D to end the file, and then we're done. And that file is ready for importing into the tool. Okay, so here's what happens on the command line. A number of different steps. We'll just go through each. Could be different numbers, but the USB connection, and then you've got right here I shut, this is channel 1, set it to off, and then the channel 1's changed to waveform 1, and then this is we're going to load an arbitrary waveform. A is the command. Hash here is what ends up happening is that that list of text values gets broken up into a number of execution lines, and part of what the code does is iterates through. It basically does a search and replace on this hash value and chooses the correct line that's getting uploaded. E is 0 to F is for waveform locations. So E is 15, I believe. And then we've got display data bit. There's my path to my text file. This is going to go and switch the channel to 15 now. It's represented as an integer with this command, channel 1 waveform 15. And then we're going to set the frequency for which my sample positions are based off of. And then we go over here and enable everything. So you can see it's kind of all one fell swoop, just uploads and executes. And a nice thing about this command, I suppose, you could write some scripts and just save them in an executable script, and then you'd, with your project, save a configuration that's suitable for your waveform generator, which is kind of handy when especially when you're switching between projects. So that's a little bit of a side benefit. So what's happening with this project in particular, I'm simulating output from a microprocessor that goes to a 74HC164 chip. Basically, basically this chip right here. This chip right here. This guy. It's serial to parallel shift register chip. And it's with the CPU, the driving microprocessor for this thing is shifting this between 1 byte for this character, 1 byte for this character, and another byte for these LED indicator LEDs at the bottom. So rather than hook my project directly up to what this plugs into, which is kind of inconvenient, I'm using my signal generator to kind of get the basics of it. So I've already measured the timing from the host unit, sender of this, if you will, and I'm just modeling it here. Let's take a look. So we've got here some clock pulses and data pulses. Clock pulse repeats over a period of time here, and then it just, it's kind of an extremely simple SPI signal. I tried using the SPI, hardware SPI on an ESP8266, and I couldn't dumb it down too much, so I just said forget it, and we'll just go directly with the data pin and trigger on that. So up here we've got our waveforms loaded already, and we're set to channel 2, and I could just demonstrate. It's a little bit convenient. First time I've used the arbitrary waveform, but I can now, once I have them all loaded, I can just sample, change my byte values just to verify that my code's working as expected, and we'll just go show over here what's actually happening with my values. So this code is just it's dumbed down. I mean, you would expect those 3 bytes to be different, but I'm just sending all the same ones here. But I can demonstrate the value change. So we've got showing 1 there. Over here we're on bit 1. We'll switch it to bit 2. And then over here we're increasing. It keeps sampling, but it's only outputting changed values. You do see occasional error in there. Maybe I touched the waveform switch. We'll increment it. Increment. There we go. So we should get 4, and then 8, and then we'll get increasing values, and then that's it, the highest. That's it. So I'm just kind of switching different waveforms over here, and it's all good. So my first time using arbitrary waveform generator, and it's nice. It kind of just reduces the development cycle for me, rather than like this thing plugs into a heat pump, so it's kind of it's a pain to go to the unit. It's not something I can put on my desk. Anyways, that's it. Just thought I'd show this little tool. I've got it uploaded. Links in the video. Cheers.